What's up guys, welcome back to Horsepower and Pizza. My name is Bailey. This video ran long, so if you haven't already, go back and watch yesterday's video, and this is part 2 of that. Thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers, and let's get on with this video. Let's get it. Day 2. Alex is going to start digging through our nightmare of a harness here and starting to reconnect some things here, there, and everywhere. Yeah, our PCV hose is kind of flaccid. I meant to order this hose last night, but I was editing another video instead, and then I fell asleep. So I'll order that this week. Being that Alex works on BMWs for a living, I trust that he will figure this out. Good luck, don't die. Bless up. I have 4 bolts on that. Also, that's a little oblong now, but I did get that stud out. We Gucci there too. So really at this point, I'm just bumping Mac Miller and thanking Milwaukee Tools for helping me in this time of need. I just ran to Advance and got some vacuum line to fix some small vacuum leaks. Alex is still working on the harness. He actually has things laid out pretty well. Starter's wired back up, alternator's wired back up. We are well on our way to... Fire it up, boys! Exactly. I'm going to have Alex explain to you the process of putting the drive shaft back in. I'm not sure how much we're gonna be able to film of that. Probably not very much because I'm not setting the GoPro up.
So on the transmission side, you got these 18 mil bolts. We had to get new lock nuts for them.
There's 3 of those.
There's 3 of these, and they fit into the Guibo, which is your torque dampener coming off the transmission. And then you've got normally studs. We had to get a little crafty. There was only 1 stud left.
I know where the other 4 are. I'm fairly confident, or the other 3, but oh well, just running with what we have.
So on an E36, there'll be studs. Some of them do have bolts, and like E46s, they actually have a coupler with hex bit heads. So we got our new bolts here. You're going to take the drive shaft and put it up in folded like this, and you'll go in the trans and to the diff. And then you take the center support, put it up, and just hang it by the nuts, and then you'll torque both ends. It'd be 100 Newton meters and 80 Newton meters respectively. And then once those are tight, then you can torque your center support down and it'll just sit where it wants to sit. On E36s, those studs I talked about, you can't get a socket behind them unless you have some kind of tool or an open-ended wrench that you can stick on a torque wrench. Just crank them down. Crank them down as hard as you can.
We're going for good, not great.
But definitely torque the fronts. You'll crush the Guibo if you tighten it too much, and you don't want that to happen. You don't want your drive shaft to say hi through your shifter boot.
No, that would be bad news bears. So Alex is gonna get to that. I'm gonna help him with whatever I can. The drive shaft is up in the car and tightened down, torqued to the Guibo. Alex is tightening the center support bearing, and my next move is to replace this clutch slave cylinder. Booker and I already replaced that. If you can see, the piston is kind of sticking out a little further than it should be. And I'll take the blame for that. Sometimes when I move this car around by myself, it starts rolling a lot faster than I want it to. So I jumped in and tried to hit the brakes the one day, and I clipped the clutch pedal with my foot by accident. It generally pushes the piston out, and you can kind of get them back in sometimes if you're lucky. It generally pushes it out past the seal, and then it's just a whole nightmare. So it's like a $35, $40 part. So we bought a new one yesterday, and we're just gonna solve that problem. It's a classic case of just throwing money at problems, and we're gonna fix it. So that's my next task. Have everything buttoned up front, minus the cooling and the rest of the front end, obviously. I have to go grab the DME from in the house. The exhaust is still open header because I'm just not going to bolt that up until I have the clamps. And we have a small lake of brake fluid, but I did swap out that slave cylinder for the clutch, so I need to make sure that that fitting is tight, and then I am going to fill that and we will bleed it. Boy, we so close. I'm excited. So the last time Booker and I bled this, we used his vacuum bleeder. I don't have Booker's vacuum bleeder, so what Alex told me to do, put a new piece of cardboard there, and now we see that it's dripping because I have the bleeder open, and I'm just letting it gravity bleed while I have the top off of the reservoir. So I'm just going to continue to keep this full until I have a steady stream, and then I'm going to close the bleeder, and then I'm going to await further instructions from Alex. I'm just learning as we go. This is the first stick car I've ever owned. For all y'all that didn't know that, welcome. here we are. So after I had a good steady drip, not a steady stream, but a steady drip, I closed the bleeder, and now I'm supposed to come in, and how many times should I pump this?
3 to 5.
Okay.
Right now. It might get stuck down or up. Down, not up.
Hey look, radiator's on, and as he said, we're gonna jump it, and we're gonna make a lot of noise. Yeah, we bled the clutch, I guess. Don't really know. It has pedal feel, but there's like a little bit of like play in the pedal, and it's weird. And I'm not really a fan of that, so it might need a master cylinder. I'm not really sure. Gonna make it work though. And we have power due to the Subaru work truck, because that battery's dead as hell. Yeah, so the 4-ways are on, so that's part of the process. That's how I know that we have power. So you just get in here, and that's a rare sight for a BMW, right? Turn that off. So now the Subaru won't start when I go to leave tomorrow morning, guaranteed. I'm gonna go ahead and juice that girl. So this is going to be straight out of the headers, and it is going to be super loud. That's due to that hose, the hose that we said I need to replace. That's what it was doing when I first bought it. And I said, oh shit, there's a vacuum leak, it's from that hose. So we know that it runs, it just needs that vacuum leak fixed. So I'm gonna order that hose, and then I'll fix everything from there. Auto air control valve hose came, as did the exhaust clamps. So I am going to get those things thrown on the car. My injectors came, but I don't think I'm gonna do that part today, so that might be a separate video. So this is gonna fix the vacuum leak, and I'm gonna button up the exhaust before I start it and bleed the coolant system, because while I make the joke of being the president of the HOA, I get really pissed off when my neighbors make a whole bunch of noise. My neighbors on both sides of me are cool, but there's some of them here that are kind of pricks and just like have no regard for anybody's sanity, building random in their backyard all the time. Gonna put this together and quiet it down a little bit before I start it. The hose that I replaced is this thick one here. I failed to show the comparison, but if you watched the video from when Booker and I solved this last year, it was this hose. It was frayed at the end, and that was causing that nasty vacuum leak. So to solve that last year, it was frayed. We cut it off at this point and crammed the fitting back in, but it cracked again. So there's that. I filmed it for TikTok, so go follow TikTok. But I replaced it, put the intake and everything back, so now I'm going to jump on to doing the exhaust. As you already saw, I cut the straight pipes and I cleaned up the flanges, so they will bolt to the headers, serve as my mid pipe. So now the new solution to bolt everything back together is to put these stainless clamps on there. So I'm just gonna open these up, get them on there, and squeeze everything back together, bolt everything up, plug this in, and good to go. The easiest way for me to do this is I'm going to throw some NICs on these bolts and drop them down through the header flanges from the top. I will then, from the bottom, add the exhaust gaskets in between. I'm going to hold the mid pipe up, and then I will run nuts on it from the bottom, and then I will clamp the back half with the new stainless clamps. I just finished up bolting up the flanges, and I tightened up the clamps back here. I want to add a reinforcement here with a hanger. I didn't buy any hanger material, so I'll do that at a later date. And the flanges right here leading into the pipe that goes into the muffler are kind of Mickey Mouse together from one of the previous owners, so I'm going to sort that too with new hardware because that's all rusty, so I'm probably going to break it getting it out. I bought stainless hose clamps for that, and it's holding the exhaust up to that cross member brace fairly okay. This is the only spot of rust on this car, so I am actually going to fix that while it's still on jack stands, and that'll be cool. That being said, the exhaust is sorted enough for me for today, so now I'm gonna throw a charger on the battery and we're gonna start it, and I'm gonna bleed the coolant system. It runs. It runs. I'm not gonna say a whole lot because I have an idea, but it's not quite ready to drive yet. If you would like to support, head over to horsepowerandpizza.com, @horsepowerpizza on all platforms available. TikTok is still running it up, so go check that out. I wanna thank you guys so much for watching. Until next Tuesday, peace out, build it for you.